What is up, everybody? It's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. And Morgan, are you with us? Are we good? Okay. Yes, I just always like to check our audio before we go, but just in case I forgot my setting or something. Okay, we are going to be doing a lot of things. We have a lot of news to cover, and we're going to be talking about Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #1, or maybe additional issues. I don't know.
As always, I bought the trade and there was bonus. Extra homework.
The bonus that I didn't get because I am a single issue reader, so that should be a lot of fun. So we will be talking about a lot of things, and I wish I could scroll down. I'm trying to scroll down without using my mouse, and I might have to go get my mouse. I'm not happy about StreamYard. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some news first, and we're going to get into the issue, which we have a lot to cover with that one. The crime syndicate shows up. Lex Luthor's in there. The Batman Who Laughs is in there. Morgan might have read something with Amanda Waller. I'm not real sure. We'll see what happened.
I did.
Good. So I didn't get that. So we'll have to see what Morgan discovered about her trade. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started, and we will get into it.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio Rebirth, your source for Supergirl comics that started with DC Rebirth. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to review Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #1, which was written by James Tynion IV with art by Steve Epting. Nick Filardi was the colorist. Travis Lanham was the letterer. Riccardo Federici did the variant cover. And Alex Antone was the editor. And Jamie S. Rich was the group editor. Lots of names there. And we are doing this, if you haven't caught up with Supergirl Radio and you're wondering why are they reading Hell Arisen, it's a great question. We had to figure that out. We discovered that at some point, infected Supergirl becomes uninfected, and we don't know why. So apparently,
Not informed in the main comics.
Why would you put it in the main?
We went on a side quest to
Yeah,
find out what happened. How did she get uninfected?
I really hope by the end of these 4 issues, we'll know. I would be very disappointed if we read 4 issues.
Could you imagine if we read all the issues and then we still don't know? And at the end of the at issue number 4, it's like, to find out how she gets uninfected, check out, and it's like it's like a different path. It's like a choose your own adventure. So we're constantly just trying to find the answer.
You never get to the end of the story. You don't know. You never find out because they couldn't think of a way to do it. So they just made us go in all of these circles. So we are going to be trying to see if we can figure out why Supergirl gets uninfected before we get into the main rebirth, back into the main rebirth storyline for the last couple of issues. So we are on a side quest trying to get the answer to how infected Supergirl becomes uninfected, because to us, it is still a mystery. But before we get into that discussion, we need to get to
The news.
According to the Hollywood Reporter, David Krumholtz, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was recently part of the all-star cast of Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, and British actress Emily Beecham have joined the spacefaring cast of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which Craig Gillespie is directing for Warner Brothers' Discovery arm, DC Studios. Krumholtz and Beecham will play Supergirl's parents. Ooh. If you're wondering where you might know David Krumholtz from, he has been acting since his teenage years, the article says, notably appearing in the Santa Claus movies.
He's Bernard.
He's Bernard.
Ned Elf, Bernard.
And later starring for 6 seasons in CBS crime drama Numbers in the late aughts. He played Nobel Prize winner Isidore Rabi in Nolan's Oppenheimer. Beecham may be best known for starring in Netflix mind-bending series 1899 and appeared in the Guy Ritchie thriller The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal. This month, she co-stars in historical epic William Tell. This article also seems to confirm that we will see Millie Alcock's Supergirl, writing that Alcock was picked as Supergirl almost a year ago and will first appear in Gunn's Superman movie. So it feels like a little spoiler there.
I think we figured she would probably show up in the Superman movie, but it looks like the Hollywood Reporter has given it away that she will be appearing in the movie. So if you don't go see Superman for any other reason other than Supergirl, I think that's totally fine. I think you could just go see it to see Supergirl show up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go to the Superman movie and you're wearing a shirt that says "Just Here for Supergirl," that's valid. And
we should make a shirt.
Supergirl.
we should we should make that design and put it in the TeePublic bookstore.
I like that idea.
I don't know what that looks like. We'll have to brainstorm.
We'll have to brainstorm what that looks like. But you should definitely get that shirt and then wear it to the Superman movie, so people know your allegiance.
We've got time. We've got plenty of time. It doesn't come out till July.
You all have time to do this with us.
I love it so much. We need to workshop this. I think we can make it happen. We can design a shirt. It's fine.
We've done it before. We could do it again.
We can do it again. So let's think on that. But yeah, so this does seem to confirm that we are going to get a origin story flashback in the Supergirl movie with. I was a little curious because the Hollywood Reporter just says Supergirl's parents. It doesn't say her Kryptonian parents, but I think elsewhere we got confirmation that it was going to be Zor-El and Allura. So it will be her Kryptonian parents.
That makes more sense than it being like the Danvers. I think that would be like, you'd be like, oh, what's happening here?
They were not in the story at all.
Okay. Like Eliza and Jeremiah are just like, that's our girl. Just like in that like one scene where they're like,
what if we could get handless Eliza Danvers?
Listen, I think that's probably the way that you would want to go. And you don't want to sort of address it at all is the thing. Now, until people are like, wait a minute.
Wait, did she have a hand or did you? But I think when you do the movie, you have to make it go back and forth.
I think the key is like, you know how when you're watching a movie and like the levels of somebody's drinks keep going wildly up and down because of editing? I think you got to
continuity is no good.
You got to do that, but with a hand. Like it's one shot she's got one shot she doesn't. Next shot it's back. Next shot it's gone, and then never explain it. Never talk about it. Never explain it.
It would be really authentic to the rebirth.
Experience. All of us, we'd be like, I know what they're doing. It was a shout out, and everybody else would be like, it was a mistake. We'd be like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a mistake. It was how it was meant to be.
If people think that we're being harsh on Eliza Danvers' disability, we're not. If you go back and listen to some of our earlier rebirth issues where we noticed after a little while that Eliza didn't have a hand for some reason and it was never explained.
And so it's fine if it's never explained, but then in later issues when like the creative team changed, her hand came back.
Yes.
And suddenly she had both. And it was very confusing at that point because you're like, wait a minute, what? And so that is the experience that we are talking about, the experience of the hand disappearing and reappearing. Basically no continuity at all.
And it seemed like it was a choice because we did get some kind of explanation from Steve Orlando, but outside of the comic, that he wanted to honor a friend of his who had that disability. So, which is
very cool.
But make a choice and stick with it is all we're saying.
Yes, you can't then at like the next creative team that comes in, they're like, whatever. You can't just ignore something that's been set up and established. You can't just go your own way on that.
It's kind of a big deal that she doesn't have a right hand.
Yeah, just give her one. After we've established that she doesn't have one of those.
And no explanation whatsoever.
None.
So that's what I would do if I was going to put the Danvers in a live action Supergirl movie. I would go the rebirth route just for kicks. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. But I think we are going to get the Supergirl flashback from Woman of Tomorrow where we go back and see what happens to her mother and all of that. So I'm very excited about that. I think that'll be really cool to see a Supergirl and her parents and how that informs her character. So I think that's confirming. I believe that's issue number 6. If you want to go read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, it's number 6.
Yeah, they have some pretty depressing flashbacks in that in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So I'm assuming we're gonna see like a little bit of some of that in the issue in the movie, the issues.
I'm also superficially excited about this because one of my favorite Supergirl looks in all of the comics we have read is in that issue where
everything's fine.
Yeah,
everything's going okay.
Bunsen is totally good. He's just wanting to hang out, I think.
He is wanting to hang out. He is demanding that I pet him and that I continue doing it, that I don't stop petting him.
You can't stop.
Or he will knock everything off the desk. That's
You
what
have
he
to
is
save your desk.
guaranteed. He is that those are his terms.
I think Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow #6 is the one where Supergirl wears that. Do you remember that long red coat that she wears with the pants when
Oh,
she's
yeah.
yeah. So I'm hoping we
good
get
look.
that on the. I like that look. If
I liked
people
it.
wanted to do Supergirl cosplay, you should do that look. It's great.
Definitely.
So hopefully we'll get to see that on the big screen instead of Bunsen's backside.
He said you can see this on the big screen anytime. Here's my tail. Here's my tail, he says. A tail of Bunsen. Okay. All right, we're flopping on the desk. Just 1 second. Just 1 second as we sort of resolve ourselves into what's happening here.
Okay.
Okay. I feel like we sort of talked to each other, we communicated, and he decided that he doesn't want to help me in any way. That's where he netted out on that. So we're just going to kind of do this around him, and we're going to hope that he decides to sit down at some point.
Okay, sounds good.
Because we have some more news.
We do.
Okay. That's fun. I could do a little show and tell here while Bunsen is being very bad.
Sure, yeah.
In that I actually have a piece of, Bunsen got right up in the camera. I actually have a piece of Supergirl I don't know, stuff, merch here, which is this is the Christmas Supergirl that I got for Christmas.
I love her. I have
She's
seen
got a
her
little
before.
package. She's got a little Santa hat.
I love it.
She's beautiful. I'm not like a keep it in the box kind of person, but I have I'm wondering how she stands up. So I haven't quite taken her out yet. I think she's got like a little base. But just in case you wanted a fun holiday thing for next holiday season, I highly recommend this Funko Pop. I don't know how it became an ad. I just needed to get Bunsen out of the way, and I thought that would work, and it did. He didn't like that.
Well, she is very
glaring
cute,
at me resentfully.
and
from the
I'm
corner.
very jealous. That's very cool.
The remainder of our news is according to the podcast Word Balloon, and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow writer Tom King, Lobo was originally supposed to be in the story. Tom said that book, which he was talking about, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, began as me pitching a Lobo and Supergirl book. It was my editors, Brittany Holzer.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And Jamie Rich, who were like, no, take Lobo out and make Supergirl the Rooster Coburn character. It wouldn't exist without Jamie and Brittany. During the interview, King spoke about the origins of his series and made the shocking reveal that it began with him pitching a story about Supergirl and Lobo traveling together. However, Lobo's inclusion was cut out, forcing King to rework his story into what became Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Morgan, I have opinions on this. But before I get to mine, I'm very curious to hear what you think about this.
It makes me more worried about the movie.
Yes.
That they're like, well, originally it was going to be a two-hander. It was going to be Supergirl and Lobo. So, and there's a reason that the finished product, which did really well, is just her. Okay?
Yeah.
I like the idea of bringing Lobo in as like a little guest star or like a little cameo. I could even see him going on maybe an adventure, like a quick adventure. But we're gonna want to get him in and out pretty quick.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's not his story. It's not.
What I don't understand is, why do people like Lobo so much? He's fun for like a little bit. But I would not want a whole movie with Lobo. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a Lobo hater, but I just don't see how you can sustain Lobo for 2 hours.
That's a lot of Lobo.
That's a lot of Lobo. I can't deal with it. He's not that interesting. I'm sorry. I just don't think he's that interesting. He's a fun, like, little kind of sprinkle in character for some things, but I don't know that I care that much. I also, because this was not something that Tom King ever said to us when we interviewed him, like when the book came out. So this was a surprise to me.
Yeah,
that this was revealed. It makes sense as to why he's now being put into the movie, because it's something that they had taken out. But I thought my understanding was it was always supposed to be Supergirl and Ruthie. He did say that the editors suggested to make Supergirl the Cogburn character. I remember him saying that because he sort of used the story of True Grit to inspire Woman of Tomorrow. But I don't remember him ever mentioning Lobo. So this was a real shock to me. So I guess if Lobo was originally in there, was there no Ruthie? Was it?
Yeah, that's
was
a
it
good
just,
question.
Was it because the article mentions Lobo and Supergirl traveling together? So was it Lobo and Supergirl the whole time? Oh,
Maybe.
I would have hated that so much.
I feel like that would have been a lot, honestly. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying I don't know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot.
I mean, maybe it's my bias because I have read what the story became, and I really liked what the story became, that it was a way for Supergirl to mentor this young girl to say no to revenge and no to killing. And it turned out to be a really good character study on the character of Supergirl. And I just, now that I've read that and enjoyed it so much, I don't think I could go back and then put Lobo in there.
I agree.
It's a different story. It becomes a Lobo
definitely
story.
A different story. Yeah, like Lobo is not a character that can quietly exist in a story. I think he's gonna really be in that story.
He's gonna take over that story. And then also, would Supergirl have been the character wanting revenge? And so then she goes to the bar and finds Lobo, and then Lobo's like the guy who's gonna hunt down Krem.
Or it's like Lobo wants revenge and she's like, Lobo,
you gotta stop killing.
You have to be better than this. And Lobo's like, you're right. I'm changing my ways. Like, does that sound reasonable? That's not what was gonna happen. She mentors Lobo.
I mean, I can see maybe where Lobo could work out in some places because he is a bounty hunter, and this is essentially like a bounty hunter storyline. But I don't have good feelings about it. And so I'm like you, I have concerns that Lobo will be in more of this story than in the movie that I think he maybe should be. Now, Jason Momoa's script pages that he sort of showed in a video on Instagram didn't look like that many, but I feel like more than 2 pages is too many. You know what I mean?
Brutal. Well, this isn't Lobo Radio. Let's be honest. Let's be clear here. We have our allegiance.
I'm sorry. I'm not a big Lobo fan. This is not good news for me.
Shading on Lobo. No, I agree. I don't mind the idea of a cameo, but I don't really want it to go much beyond that. So I'm hoping those script pages are thin.
Let's maybe do 2 or 3 minutes.
Let's not go crazy with Lobo.
Are there any comments about Lobo in the chat?
Mind the Gap said, that's not an unpopular opinion. Lobo works best when he shows up for something fun and leaves the story.
I agree. That's my exact feeling. Like, sprinkle him in a little bit, but then get him out. Get him right out of there.
Get him in?
He's not a sustainable character.
No.
So those are my feelings on it, but I guess it is nice to know more about the history of how the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic came to be. I am of the opinion that the editors made the right choice there. Sometimes I think sometimes you have to make the choice for the betterment of the story, and I think maybe they did. So that's just, I guess, my opinion. But I still love Tom King, even though he wants to put Lobo back in the story. We'll see. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe my my Lobo. I don't want to say hatred. I don't hate Lobo. I just I misunderstand why he's so popular.
I feel like on a sliding scale, if we would, if we did,
are we gonna have a Lobo sliding scale?
If we had a Lobo sliding scale, I'm more like Lobo neutral. You know, like I'm more Lobo neutral. I feel like you're a little bit Lobo negative.
I'm between Lobo apathetic and Lobo negative.
That's fair. Lobo apathetic.
I'm like, why is he here? That's where I am on the scale.
What are you doing here?
If we could have a part on the scale of Lobo, why is he here? That's
where you're always gonna land.
So okay, well, I had heard that on I actually went on the vodka stream on the Film Junkies YouTube channel on Friday as we record this on a Tuesday, and they brought that up to me, and I was like, "What? What is this? Where? I didn't know anything about this." So thank you to the guys over at the vodka stream for letting me know that this had happened. So I wanted to talk about it so we could get it on the record here at Supergirl Radio. Well, in addition to all of the more recent movie news, we have some news related to Supergirl's past cinematic history from 1984 with Supergirl the movie. And unfortunately, this is sad news. According to Variety.com, Jeannot Schwark, the French filmmaker, or I think it's Zork. I feel like
I never pronounce it right because it's like one of those ones that's like the S is silent or something.
Jeannot Schwark. I feel like I got it close. The French filmmaker known for directing Jaws 2, Somewhere in Time, and Supergirl died this past Wednesday, which would have been, let's see, what
it would have been.
What was that? January 15th? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
So died on January 15th. He was 85 years old. Jane Seymour, who played Elise McKenna in Schwark's 1980 film Somewhere in Time, confirmed the news. She wrote in a Facebook post, quote, "Today we say goodbye to a true visionary. Jeannot was not just a brilliant director, but a kind and generous soul. He gifted us many timeless stories, including Somewhere in Time, a film that changed my life forever. May his memory be a blessing and may his artistry live on in our hearts," unquote. Zork was born November 21st, 1939 in Paris and grew up in Argentina. Wow. He graduated from Harvard University with a master's degree in political science. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and learn more about how he got from master's degree in political science from Harvard to filmmaking.
That is a curious life path.
The article goes on to say that he worked in both film and television, including directing shows like Rockford Files, Columbo, The New Perry Mason, and Kojak in the 1970s. He directed the 1973 feature film Extreme Close-Up, 1984 Supergirl, and the 1975 film Bug. Zork notably took over the iconic Jaws franchise with Jaws 2. Although the film did not receive a stellar critical response, it earned over $200 million globally. And then Jeffrey Kramer, who was in Jaws and Jaws 2, wrote, quote, "R.I.P. my dear Jeannot Schwark." He wrote this on Instagram, "One of the finest, most talented souls I was privileged to know," unquote. Schwark's Somewhere in Time is about a playwright's infatuation with an older actress and subsequent time travel. Wait, whoa. I need to watch this Somewhere in Time movie.
I have not watched this, and they mentioned it in the Christopher Reeves documentary, and I was like,
right, because he's in that as well, right?
Yeah, and I was like, man, I should watch this. And then I forgot about it, like promptly forgot about it. And now that I'm reading it, like now that we're talking about this again, once again, I'm like, oh man, I gotta watch this. But I didn't know what the plot was, and it sounds great.
I didn't know there was time. I mean,
travel.
I should have known it was time travel. It's somewhere in time, but
somewhere in time. And I don't know, like maybe they get there. Let's say they jump into a pond, perhaps to get there. Maybe.
Wait, is that real?
No, I'm joking. No. I don't know though. What if it was real?
Something like that. Don't give my hopes up like that.
What if it was
real? Somewhere in Time became a cult classic in the decades following its release. Seymour plays the actress opposite Christopher Reeve as the playwright character. And Schwark said, quote, "What I loved about Somewhere in Time was that there was very little sex, but there was a lot of love. It was really what the French called l'amour fou, a crazy love. You know, they don't make pictures like that anymore," unquote. Schwark continued to work in television in later years, directing episodes of Ally McBeal, Smallville, and Supernatural, and Grey's Anatomy. So yeah, he also contributed to the Superman, Supergirl mythology with episodes of Smallville as well.
I remember him being a director in Smallville because back in my day when you used to have DVDs and the DVDs would have commentaries. Now commentaries were like a podcast for a DVD, just so the kids understand. I would like watch the commentaries because, as we can imagine, I didn't have that much going on, and they would talk about him a lot as a director. They'd be like, "Oh, he said this or he said that," and I remembered when we watched the Supergirl movie, I was like, oh my God, he was he directed a bunch of episodes of Smallville. That's wild.
Yeah, don't disparage the DVD audio commentary.
They were so good.
It really truly a genre of its own that just it's an art form.
Like a free master class.
Yes.
Like I would watch the 30 Rock commentaries a lot.
Now those are funny.
They were really funny. You'd learn really fun behind the scenes stuff about the jokes. They don't make the commentaries for the streaming. You can't like put on a Netflix show with a commentary. Although there's no reason why you can't. You should be able to.
Why couldn't you just add another season to a TV show and just add a bunch of commentary?
Just add a bunch of commentary, or like have it be on like one of the like audio options. You could like choose audio commentary.
Yes.
That's easy. You don't even have to upload it twice. We're doing their jobs for them here.
We are innovating in the world of streaming and no one wants to listen to us. If you're also interested in good audio commentary, The Constant on Lost season 4, very good audio commentary by editor Mark Goldman, who I'm a big fan of. So some really good audio commentaries out there. Don't dismiss them. They're actually, most of them are really good. Some of them are hit or miss, but some of them are pretty good. So they're worth it checking out if you never have. But Jeannot, in terms of Supergirl the movie, we've reviewed and discussed Supergirl the movie here. We have, some lighthearted critiques about it. But I think it's
a perfect film.
But I think in my case was always that it's actually kind of a faithful adaptation of the Silver Age of Supergirl. And Jeannot should be credited as the first director who brought Supergirl Zor-el to the big screen. He innovated a new form of Kryptonian flying because he wanted to have Supergirl fly like she was doing a ballet. And so it said a lot about his take on the character, that he wanted to make her, separate from Superman. He wanted to distinguish her as being very different as Superman while maintaining her own identity as Supergirl. So I've always really appreciated that about his work, especially when it came to Supergirl the movie, is that I think he took it seriously. He didn't think it was a silly thing. He really wanted to do the character justice and wanted to do it in a new, innovative way. And so as much as people like to make fun of that movie now, I think for that time period, that was a pretty big deal. There were not a lot of female superheroes on the big screen. So Supergirl the movie was one of the first. So I think that should be remembered when we talk about him. So I was really sad to hear this news. I looked up the Supergirl Radio email account. I was looking in the inbox and I saw Daryl had sent that link over because I had missed it. So thank you, Daryl, for passing that along. That's a very big thing that we should note when it comes to Supergirl news because Jeannot contributed to Supergirl and her mythology greatly. Well, I hate to end on that sad bit of news in our news section, but I guess we could pivot and get a little more lighthearted to talk about Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #1. There's no good segue coming out of that, so we'll just kind of keep going. So for this episode of Supergirl Radio, we're going to talk about A Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #1. The description for this issue reads, quote, DC's Year of the Villain begins its sinister conclusion. I guess we're going to get a conclusion here. So this is promising. Lex Luthor has brought Perpetua back from her cosmic grave and restored her power. Now the multiverse lives in fear that she might wipe out all existence. The only thing that could stop her are the forces of the dark multiverse, which means it's a Luthor mission to defeat the Batman who laughs. But if Batman and Superman couldn't stop him, what chance does Luthor stand? Spinning out of the end of the Justice Doom War in Justice League #38 and the conclusion of the epic Infected arc. Was it epic? From Batman Superman #5, DC's two top villains face off in a battle royale. Or no, it doesn't say royale. In a battle royal, and the fate of all reality hangs in the balance, unquote. So that's a lot in the description. That's a very lengthy description. I guess that kind of catches everybody up to speed on what's happening there. Morgan, I heard that your experience reading this is a little different from mine. It sounds like we're
As
back
always.
to our I guess we should make this a tradition. Anytime we review comics, I'll read the single issues, you read the trades.
I'm a trades girl because I don't like to bother remembering to purchase the thing. I just want to buy it once.
Just get it collected.
And I will say, if you are a big, what would it be, Year of the Villain head, if you're like, oh my god, I love Arisen, now is the time to buy it, because I bought the whole trade for my Kindle for $1.99.
The whole trade, 4 issues, $1.99
was less expensive than any of the individual issues. So I felt like I was getting quite a bargain. So like, run, don't walk to the Kindle store if you feel that you need to own this. Only if you feel that way. Which I did, apparently. So I was like, I might as well buy the trade. They're 4 issues anyway. It's $2. That's great. So I buy the trade. And then I open it up and I'm like immediately a little confused because the numbering system in the trade is not intuitive. And so I take a screenshot and I send it to Rebecca and I say, is this your first page? And Rebecca comes back to me and she says, no, it is not. And I was like, cool, here we go again. So I looked up the description on Amazon. I don't know why I said description that way. And apparently it collects Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen 1 through 4, but it also collects Year of the Villain Special number 1. So special number 1 is the first issue in this collection. So why I was confused was because that's how mine was beginning and not how Rebecca's was beginning. But I decided, I'm a completist. I'm a cover to cover kind of girl. I read the acknowledgments. All right, I guess here we are. I'm gonna have to read the special. I don't know if a special has ever made me more confused than the regular issues, but this one did that. I still felt like, even with the added context, that I didn't really understand what was going on in this, but maybe that's sort of what they were going for. Who knows? So it begins with Amanda Waller. She's going to the White House. She goes into the White House and immediately sees like Lex and like a sexy cheetah lady. I think they've killed the president. I'm not really sure.
Wait, is this a cheetah lady or is it like Cheetah, the Wonder Woman
villain? It is Cheetah, the Wonder Woman villain. I'm going to share my screen so you can just see how
Cheetah,
how sexy that cheetah lady is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Some people are working some stuff out in this comic. So they come into Amanda goes into the president's office. President's gone. So that's not good. Then it seems like they maybe kill Amanda Waller. This is not very clear. We move.
That's kind of a big deal. He
maybe kills Amanda Waller. They kind of skim over the surface of that. And then Lex is like, my evil plan is coming to fruition. And Mercy's like, what do you mean an evil plan? And Lex is like, I am finally, I'm going to get everything that I want. And Mercy's like, oh, do you mean you're going to kill Superman? And he's like, kill Superman? That is so cute. I am so above that now. I've transcended that need. And Mercy's like, okay, cool. And then he fires everybody and he says, tell them all to get out of the office or they'll die, or I'm going to kill them. And she's like, all right. Weird day at the office for Mercy. Anyway,
he could just fire them.
He could. Well, they are all fired, but he's like, then have them get out of the office immediately.
Oh, he wasn't going to wait for them.
He wasn't going to wait for them to evacuate. Then he's like talking to Brainiac and he's like, Brainiac's like, I don't know about this plan of yours. Like, all the heroes are coming. And Lex is like, this plan is going to change everything. It's all very vague. I wasn't really understanding what was going on, but I didn't care that much. He says something about like, I am certain of everything. He says, okay, cool. Once again, Brainiac is like, oh, cool, you're very smart. And as a person who's mostly known for being smart, I hadn't heard of any of this stuff, and I'm gonna peace out. Cool, very Brainiac, very on trend. They also talk about like these plans that Lex has, and how in this giant panel you see a bunch of different versions of like all the characters, all the villains of the world, that they've been studying them, and they have a plan for them all, and they're going to make an offer to all of these people, and I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't really know what's going on. The next panel, he's like, okay, Brainiac, my old friend, c'est la vie, and Brainiac's like, it's been real, my dude. And like, between the lines, I'm reading like a very deep, abiding friendship. Brainiac leaves, and then Lex blows himself up. That
What?
I don't. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Is that the baboon?
That's the baboon. That's why he was telling everybody to get out of the building, because they were fired, but also because he was gonna blow it up.
Wow.
And you're like, cool. And then at the bottom, you can just see this. It says, well, you can't see it now because I've activated the sides of the Kindle reader. But at the bottom it says end chapter 1. And I was like, is that the issue that I was supposed to read? What's chapter 1? But I persisted. So I was like, cool, okay, I guess that's not it. That's cool. I didn't need to understand what's going on. And then I just moved right along to what presumably is chapter 2. I'm sorry, I'm going through this as quickly as possible, but because I deeply didn't understand what was going on in this comic, I'm going to have to go through it a little bit.
Yeah. This is helpful.
So, thank you. It wasn't for me. I had no idea what's going on. So we start chapter 2. It's Green Arrow and Batgirl. You can tell because it says Batgirl in her like Batgirl font.
Yeah.
And also Green Arrow in kind of like a sadder font that's sort of hidden at the bottom. So you know who's the more important character in this. And they're fighting Merlin. So I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I know about him from the Arrow TV show. So I
Right.
feel like I'm well equipped here. But I'm not really. He's talking about the League of Assassins has been taken out. And he was like, help a brother out, basically. And they're like, okay, we will. And then something comes out of the sky, I guess, and electrocutes everybody. I'm not really clear on what's happening. Then we get to this other whole section of panels where
A lot of talking going on.
somebody is talking to Batgirl, and they're like, Batgirl, we know that you want to help, but what you've been doing so far, if we have to be honest, hasn't really moved the needle. And Batgirl's like, harsh. And they're like, what if like you aligned yourself with us and we could really change this world? And Batgirl just stares. And you think, wow, where are they going with this? And it's nowhere. Next, we find ourselves in the Batcave. Batman is looking at a bunch of monitors. He's talking to Damian. Damian is like, I have a detective sense. And he's like, okay, cool. And he's like, you could tell he's kind of like regretting that he told Damian he had a detective sense at one point in the future. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And then Damian's like, I think I need help to prove that this new Leviathan threat isn't Red Hood, your old partner, Jason Todd. And I was like, well, where's that going? Nowhere. End chapter 2. Okay, cool. I don't know what any of that means either, but there we are.
So Mind the Gavin in the chat says this is part of the Leviathan arc. So maybe
Okay.
it has something to do with that.
Whew, thank you. That is actually very helpful. Oh no, not Leviathan again, says Rachel. Yeah, don't worry. It doesn't really interact in any way except what we just read, because we're right into chapter 3. So we left Gotham. We're now like in the stars.
This
in the
is a
cosmos.
this feels like More than one issue.
It
It's a
does.
special.
It's a
Okay,
special. It's
yeah.
it's very big. I will say, I was like, wow, I can't. Where's the first issue of this thing? So I'm just trying to quickly summarize it, and also I deeply did not understand what was happening. So in the next section, in chapter 3, I suppose, there's first off, there's an editor's note. Never a good. Never a
Oh,
good
so you
sign.
did get an
So
editor's
I
note
finally
in
get
this.
an editor's note. It says this story takes place after the Justice League returns from the 6th dimension. Oh, cool. That clears it up. So they're basically out in space. They're trying to help these planets or civilizations from getting destroyed. One ship with like 1 million people starts to go rogue, and Batman's like, it's going rogue, and Superman's like, I got it. And then he goes into the spaceship, and there's like a little guy, and he's like, everything's going wrong, and like killing everybody on this spaceship is kind of a mercy, Superman. Don't you see that? And Superman's like, punch you in the face. And that seems like a pretty good a pretty good way to stop it. And then Superman just kind of turns the ship back around. Then they all are in the Justice League, and they're all talking about all the different worlds that they've been trying to save, but it's like taking all of them to do it, and how many other universes have like disappeared in the amount of time that they're like trying to save these ones. It's very unclear what's happening. It kind of feels like a world wide multiverse event, but like, how many of those could you possibly have? Infinite is the answer, as you can see, because when they're like, what are we gonna do? Batman's like, simple, we'll call everyone. And then some poor artist had to draw every single DC superhero all in one giant pile.
Supergirl's in there though.
Supergirl is at the front of this, which is where she should be. Respect that.
I do wonder why Shazam is so big though.
Shazam is too big for like surprisingly big. It's sort of, your eye goes to Shazam like immediately, and then you're just kind of confused, like, oh, Shazam. Also, like the guy with the weird stretchy neck, I can't remember what his name is.
Plastic Man.
Plastic Man. Too much Plastic Man, and I don't like the neck thing. I'm just gonna call it. Let's take Plastic Man right out of there. I don't like it.
But Supergirl is uninfected.
But Supergirl is uninfected. She's sort of normal. Crypto's right next to her, being a very good boy where he belongs.
Yeah.
So Batman's like, we will call everybody in. Okay. So now we get to Perpetua, which is like this super evil lady who is apparently like very important to the story, but she has not appeared in any of the issues that we have been reading. So she was new to me. She was brand new to me. I was just meeting Perpetua for the first time. Beautiful, beautiful lady. She is the mother of the multiverse, but she, for some reason, I guess, and she's sort of like in a tube, and then she like breaks out of the tube. So somehow this has something to do with Lex Luthor. She is like, she feels the essence of the universe, that it's tilting towards doom. Apparently Lex Luthor's sacrifice when he blew himself up was the key. They'd all see now the villains would rise, the heroes would fall. Just sort of general bad lady stuff. But I do like that, like, she has like a necklace of planets, and she's got like double Saturn on there. I think if I had to pick, it would be double Saturns as well. Maybe all Saturns even. She says that she knows some of the players of this like upcoming struggle. And then one of the craziest panels I've ever seen, which is that, okay, we have it looks like Brainiac, it looks like the red guy, Sinestro. Maybe this is a less sexy cheetah lady.
Yeah, if it's not Cheetah, I don't know who it is.
And then, but what really got me, what really sort of threw me for a loop, is that we have what I can only imagine is Gorilla Grodd, and he has strapped onto him a baby, like a baby Bjorn. And I cannot imagine what is the context in which this happened.
Does it not explain who the baby is?
It sure doesn't. It's never explained. And so I don't know. I guess he's just a single father trying to do the best he can. And you know what? I have to respect that. And I have to root for him because I don't know any of the context about how he got that baby and why he's carrying it around with him.
Could this be a young Commandy?
I hope so. Although poor Commandy, he really cannot escape a life with the
Gorillas.
monkey peoples.
That baby also does not look very happy.
The baby doesn't look psyched to be there. If I have to be honest, he doesn't look psyched to be there. But sometimes babies just don't like where they are. That doesn't make Gorilla Grodd a bad dad. I don't want to be casting judgment. I don't know his circumstances, but I have no idea, and it's never explained. And it does feel like a thing that you would explain, right? It feels like something, maybe like a throwaway line or an editor's note, but there isn't any. So we go straight from that into the Batman Who Laughs, who now finally makes an appearance. And at this point, I was like, okay, I did indeed buy the right thing, because for a while I was scared I hadn't. But it was I kept telling myself, you only spent $2, Morgan, it's fine. But I thought I had for sure bought the wrong thing. The Batman Who Laughs has like what seems like a bunch of weird Robins that are, I don't know, like in chains, and also maybe
like
zombies. I don't know what's happening.
Zombies maybe.
Zombie Robins. It's not going great for them. Then we go back to Perpetua, of course, because we know her well, right? Like we know when Perpetua's around that things are going to get crazy. And then she's like looking at like a Lex Luthor in like a little pod, and she's like, something like, he's about to change. Lex Luthor is like, he's becoming what he was always meant to be, so that seems bad. And she's like, something beautiful. So now I'm like, ooh, the tension here, right? You can cut it with a knife.
Perpetua and Lex.
Perpetua and Lex. Then there's a sort of like a page with the Batman Who Laughs and an evil Supergirl. So I was like, okay, so Supergirl is in this. That also wasn't clear to me. And that brings us to issue 1.
So this is where I started reading. So Morgan, thank you for doing that work prior to that to get us.
You.
That actually, I know it seems insane, but some of that does clear up some things for me.
Okay, that's great. Because I have to say, I thought about before you were like, read it, and then like we'll talk about it on the podcast. And after I read it, I thought to myself, there's no way I can explain what I just read. And there's just no way. And so I do have to apologize for going through it page by page, but there's no way I could have summed that up. I had no idea what I was looking at. And then I'd be like, and then Gorilla Grodd was there, but I guess he's a single dad now. I don't know how to explain that.
So in You're the Villain, Hell Arisen #1, there is mention with Perpetua something about Lex's sacrifice, and I was like, what is she talking about? So now I understand the Lex portion of that somewhat. I mean, I'm still a little bit confused, but that gives me some context prior to going into it. So thank you for doing that back work. I think the editor's notes in my issue #1 also reference that there's like a year ago flashback that says that scene takes place between Dark Knight's Metal #6 and Justice League #1. So if you do want to go and do some extra homework and do some more reading outside of the issue that you're already reading, you can go check those out as well. So one of the things I thought was interesting about this issue that we've now gotten to is that there was a lot of dialogue in here, and I wanted to see what you thought about this, Morgan. Like you, I'm a little bit confused about what's happening in all of this. Absolutely. But I thought some of the dialogue was kind of interesting because I thought it was pretty meta in the way that the characters were talking about each other. So it made me think that the writers were, and maybe this is me giving them a lot of credit, but it seemed like the way I read it is the writers were like setting things up in the story and using the dialogue to do it. So in one of the panels, Lex tells the Batman Who Laughs, he says, "You aren't part of this story." And then the Batman Who Laughs says, "Of course I am. I'm one of the main characters." And so there were some things like that in this issue that I thought was really interesting. Towards the end, the Batman Who Laughs talks about there being spoilers and how he knows the future of all of this stuff. He says, excuse me, he tells Lex, "See, I told you right at the beginning, you want to see what would happen if you and I went head to head, but I've seen it for myself. I've skipped to the end of the book and I've read the last paragraph, and spoilers, Batman wins." So I don't know if that's if we're going to get to the end of the book and somehow Batman wins at some point. But I thought all of that was really interesting. So I hope that's foreshadowing something. I think that would be really clever if it was. But I just noticed that a lot of times the way that because a lot of this issue is Lex and the Batman Who Laughs like talking with each other. And so I thought that was really quite interesting. So I thought the writing of this was pretty good, even though I didn't understand much of the context.
Yeah. I thought this one was a lot easier. This issue was a lot easier for me to follow than the special, which I felt like was really jumping around, I guess, trying to sort of set up this whole Hell Arisen arc. Even though, I mean, I guess they do mention the infection. I believe they mentioned the infection in this issue. So even, I guess, if you hadn't read any of the infected issues of any of the other runs, you could kind of like pick up like, okay, the superheroes are all bad because of an infection. So yeah, I sympathize that it must be hard to tell the story this way, just getting so much baggage from various corners of the DC universe. But I do think that they did like a pretty good job of sort of like setting everybody up and kind of what the stakes were, and especially the Lex Luthor versus Batman Who Laughs sort of rivalry almost, because the Batman Who Laughs is like, we're the two smartest people and I know that you want to know which of us is better, and Lex is like, no I don't, but like maybe I do. And and I think that they set that up really good in the beginning of the issue, and then they kind of pay it off towards the end where the Batman Who Laughs seems to have Lex in quite a predicament, and he's like, it's me, I'm better.
So this idea popped in my head. I'm probably wrong about this because I haven't read past all of this. I don't know how this story ends.
Same.
But the way I was reading it, it almost felt like the way the Batman Who Laughs taunts Lex, it seemed very personal to him. And even at some point there was a panel, I'm trying to see if I can find it. There was a panel where they are facing each other. It's like Lex on the left and the Batman Who Laughs on the right. So they're facing each other in this sort of, and almost they're like the same height. And it says, and there's a deeper reason, a more human reason, I think, why, they're going against you. This is a crazy theory. Maybe this is not how this story ends, but this is kind of how I would maybe write this. Somehow I would make the Batman Who Laughs another Lex Luthor.
Ooh.
Just because I feel like they have this personal one-upsmanship, and they seem to like know things about the future, but they don't seem to know like exactly like who's going. I don't know. I just started thinking, is this another Lex? I don't know. So that's just, even if that's not how the story ends, that's what I would do.
That would be really cool. That would be like a twist, because we like the way the character design is for the Batman Who Laughs, like we can't see a face really. We're just seeing the smile and the weird sort of headband. I don't even know how this guy sees out of this thing, honestly. So it could be, I mean, I feel like really it could be any character under there. I know it's supposed to be like a dark version of Batman, but it could be not.
Do we assume that it's Bruce, like a scary evil version of Bruce Wayne, or
I kind of was assuming that, just because of like the way that he kind of talks about like, I'm so smart, and like, Batman is kind of known to be
the greatest detective,
the brains of the operation. So I would expect that he's supposed to be like a dark version of Bruce Wayne. He says, I came here because I wanted to see how much you already knew, and then he kind of like says trying to see where he's like, you won't kill me because you're smart, and I know things that no other being in this universe knows. So I don't know, it's giving me like master detective kind of thing, so I could definitely see it being a dark version of Bruce that I guess got like some sort of like choker serum and went crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know, that Lex Luthor thing just kind of popped in my head while I was reading it, but I think it probably is an evil version of Bruce Wayne. That would make way more sense. So I guess talking about some of these other characters, because a lot of characters popped up in this one.
Yeah.
What did you think about seeing the Crime Syndicate, the evil version of the Justice League?
I thought that was fun. I haven't read much in the way of like comics with the dark version of the Justice League. We've definitely seen some like animated stuff with that, but I haven't really read it in comics. So like seeing Ultraman and seeing like I like evil Wonder Woman because she always is kind of making like a snarky face. It's like they don't know how to make her seem like evil, so she's always kind of arching a brow. Well, I respect that. It's just like she's just like, oh, really? Okay.
Someone help me out in the chat. I think the Crime Syndicate Wonder Woman is actually Lois Lane. Am I right about that? Someone fact check me.
Oh, that is
But like
amazing.
she looks like Wonder Woman, but I think she may be like the evil version of Lois Lane. But somebody fact check me in the chat. I don't have
Oh.
a chance to look it up.
She has like a different costume, so I could kind of see that. I was trying to like, they don't really pull out very much on her as a character or like push in on her as a character. So it is really hard to tell like what her evil costume looks like. A critique of mine. So you can kind of see that it's not the normal Wonder Woman costume, but I'm like sort of skimming through panels and I'm not really seeing like a full view of it.
I think I read that at one point. Yeah, Kenny in the chat says it's Superwoman. So and Superwoman is a name that Lois Lane usually Lois or Lucy go by. And yep, Mind the Gap says in the chat Superwoman is Lois Lane. I think Grant Morrison's JLA Earth 2 did that first.
Oh.
Yeah, evil version of Lois Lane is taking the place of Wonder Woman there.
Well, that explains why she's so sassy in all the panels.
That would make sense.
Just really giving face the whole time, like arching a brow constantly.
Yeah, I mean the what I thought was interesting is that they talk about, especially the what's his name, Power Ring in this, the evil Green Lantern. He talks about how there are other Earths still kind of in effect, but they're the good guy Earths. And it sounds like, from what I gathered, the idea behind, I guess, the big plot of this is that Perpetual wants to get rid of all the Earths, or the good guy Earths, and make everybody evil. Am I even close to understanding that? That seemed like her big evil plan.
Seems like, from what I could understand of her evil plan, which wasn't a lot, it's that like she wants all of the like dark universes, or all of the universes, to kind of be evil, and then she's going to like harness the power of those evil universes, but she doesn't want like the dark universes. Like that's messing with her powers. She only wants like the existing universes to like turn dark, but she doesn't want the dark multiverse. I was really unclear. I was like, wow, we're just like, this is happening. We're really in the weeds here with like what's going on. Because I'm trying to find in like what panel she like talks about this, because I was very unclear.
She says the so-called evil is of the dark reflection of the natural order. Let's see. It says, we must break the bones of this multiverse to set it correctly, as I originally intended. It will heal and fortify in a shape where the so-called evil is not the dark reflection of the natural order. It is the natural order. And then she goes on to say, we will eliminate all Earths that believe in heroism and transform the populations of the crueler Earths into our great army. So yeah, she seems to want to believe that the evil actually is the natural order of things, that we're not naturally supposed to be good.
Yeah, she mentions in one of the other panels something about, of course, now I can't zoom in for some reason. I truly love the Comixology app. You must understand the dark multiverse is a wrong thing, she says. It was never, hold on, sorry. It's at the top of the page, so every time I scroll, it was never meant to propagate with broken, twisted worlds. It is not part of my plan, she says. The nightmares of the dark twist the nature of the multiverse above it. If the incursion were allowed to spread on Earth, the multiverse would never be able to assume my final form. More than that, those energies are a danger to me. So basically she's saying like this dark multiverse that like the Batman Who Laughs comes from is a real problem. Like his infection is a real problem to her, even though it seems like what she wants to do is kind of the same thing, which is like she's like, no, this is bad, but in a different way that has not been approved by corporate. And so I need you to fix it.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand that, but it seems like she has a big plan that now involves this resurrected Lex Luthor. Is this the same Lex Luthor who, I assume this is the same Lex Luthor who sacrificed himself in the special that you read?
I think so. I think this is the version at the end of the special where he's like in the little pod that she like remakes him, and then she made him just like giant. She made him like real big, which I thought was really funny. Like she remade him. She's like, but like, what if he was like 7 feet tall? I was like, okay. Again, the tension, you can cut it with a knife.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Like, I'm really tall, and so obviously I'm going to make him really tall.
One of the things I liked about tall Lex Luthor escorting the crime syndicate down this big hallway is they pass a character who looks like the Monitor from Crisis on Infinite Earth, and he says, "Don't you understand? The crisis has already begun." I thought that was a nice Easter egg there.
I thought that was really fun. I was like, oh, it's there goes the Monitor. Mind the Gap says, remember at this point, some people in DC wanted these storylines to rewrite DC history, and some writers refused. So that may be the subtext.
So wait, the writers were like told they had to do something. And they were like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, but what if we did?
That's amazing. That probably can be the reason why we're having such a difficult time with some of this. Lady Perpetua, I feel like I had heard of her before, but she was not a character who I'd known a lot about. So I'll have to do some digging between now and issue 2 to really go through her comic book history to see what's going on with her. But she definitely has Lex Luthor as, she is lording over him. He's a general in her army, and he is doing things on behalf of Lady Perpetua. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Now, Lex, when he is working on behalf of Lady Perpetua, he runs into infected Supergirl and all of her infected friends. So, Morgan, what do you think about that interaction when we finally do get to see Supergirl in this issue?
Yeah, I thought that was really fun. So I did take a little bit of offense to it because everybody else in their infected form gets like a really fun nickname. And I feel like if you're going to join a new squad, you should get a fun nickname. So like I think Donna Troy is now called Deathbringer, which is really cool. Blue Beetle is now called Scarab, which is that feels less cool.
It's a little lazy.
It's a little lazy, but Deathbringer is great. And I was like, yeah. And then Shazam is just like
King Shazam.
He's just like, I'm King Shazam. And I was like, all right, lazy again. But Hawkman is now Sky Tyrant. Like Sky Tyrant, that's a cool nickname, right? Like that's awesome. And then it's like, so then I was like, oh, I must have missed Supergirl's nickname because I got into it. I was like, yeah, Deathbringer, Sky Tyrant. And then I went back to see what her nickname was. Her nickname is Kara Zor-El, formerly Supergirl. That's not how evil names work. Kara Zor-El is her name. Yeah. So it can't be her new evil nickname. How come Donna Troy gets Deathbringer? And Hawkbro gets Sky Tyrant, and she's like, "Yeah, it's me, Kara." That's not scary.
She's not even like the artist formerly known as Supergirl.
No, I know.
She is Kara Zor-El. You're right. It's not as scary. She should have a cool like death metal.
She should have a cool death metal name. Like if you're gonna do this whole thing with like the death metal thing, and you're really gonna go for it with her Kiss makeup, and then you're gonna say, "Well, now her name is Kara." Like, get out of here. I'm sick of it.
You're not even trying.
Mind the Gap in the chat says Iron Maiden of Might.
Yes,
It's right there.
yes,
It's right there.
yes.
It's
That's
right there.
awesome.
That's awesome. That Iron Maiden of Might. She goes with Deathbringer and Sky Tyrant, and okay, fine, King Shazam, and Scarab. Like they're all so cool. They're all hanging out together. It's like this is Scarab. This is Deathbringer. This is me, Kara. It's like, come on, girl. I know she's really bad at being infected, but like this is a different level.
He's not even trying. But I like Iron Maiden of Might. That is on point.
That's great. It works with the whole thing.
Yeah. It sounds like you put some effort into it, Mind the Gap. So I appreciate that. Yeah, so all of these characters face down with Lex, and so that's kind of how this issue ends. Is there's a last stand with him facing off between these characters, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
And it's like, what will happen to Lex? And I'm like, I guess Lex is our hero in this thing. Like we're worried about him. It's like
but he's working for Lady Perpetua, and
I
she
know.
seems evil. So I don't know who's the good guy.
I also think it's really funny because like everything in this is so unbelievably complicated that if somebody came in and they were like, oh cool, like what's your comic about, like I would just start crying rather than try to explain it to them. Stanley says this all sounds like a fever dream. Well wait, Stanley, because I really want to get into this part. So they try to lampshade like why Lex's super powerful powers that we saw him use don't work on the infected superheroes. And so the Batman Who Laughs is like says like you're thinking you planned everything, you have all this power, but Perpetua, she's mother of the multiverse, and her power does nothing to the energies of my multiverse, the dark multiverse. And I was just like, at that point, I think reading that, I just went, come on, man. Like I can't.
How are there more than one multiverse?
I don't know.
I always interpreted the multiverse as like there is the multiverse, and then within the multiverse, there are all these other different Earths. So now they're saying there's two multiverses?
Yeah. There's the regular multiverse and then the dark multiverse, which is the multiverse that the Batman Who Laughs is from. And it's the reason why Perpetua's powers which were given to Lex when he had his glow up, don't work on the infected superheroes, and also why Perpetua is like, we have to fix this infection because it's messing up my multiverse that I'm coincidentally also trying to make evil, but evil in a different way than this other multiverse, which is just inherently evil, which is not okay. It's only okay if the multiverse was okay before, then became evil. It can't become evil and then continue to be evil. And I'm like, I can't do this with you. I can't do this
I think you just explained it perfectly.
Yeah, it's killing me.
So, I guess I don't understand. Like, one thing that I think would really help me a lot with this series is if we got an origin story for the Batman Who Laughs.
Yes, that would actually help.
Do we know how he became the Batman Who Laughs? Where did he come from? Why is he doing what he's doing? What's his deal? Does anyone know? Did we miss an issue? Do we need to go back and read an issue? Like that would help me understand like why he's in charge of like another multiverse.
I have like the standard Cotton Eye Joe questions for him. Like, where did he come from? Where did he go? Like, I don't understand. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not even confident that we don't know this. I am confident I don't know where I would ever find it, but it's possible that it was in a comic somewhere and I just never received the editor's note of where to find it.
So Mind the Gap says Batman Who Laughs debuted in the first Dark Knight Metal series, Death Metal. In the first Dark Knight Metal series, Death Metal is a sequel. So I guess we would have to go back and watch or read the Dark Knight Metal and Death Metal series. But I guess my question to you, Mind the Gap, is there an origin story in those?
Like, do we learn about who he is and like how he became this way, or does he just pop up there for the first time and we're just as he popped up here, just like as some dude we feels like we should know something about?
Kenny thinks that there was a solo series on the Batman Who Laughed.
Oh.
Like, was there a whole title on the Batman Who Laughs? Can you sustain that to have just a whole solo title on him?
Let's see.
I guess that's where you would put an origin story.
I think it's funny. Okay. I Googled the Batman Who Laughs to see if I could immediately like clock a comic series. I will say that the first results were a bunch of pictures and then also a Reddit thread that was titled The Batman Who Laughs and Why He Failed from our character rant. And it's like I effing hate the Batman Who Laughs. So I guess he's not like incredibly popular. First result right at the top of the page.
I wonder why
Not a
would
lot of
people
love.
not like this character?
It says his first appearance, according to what I assume is being pulled from Wikipedia. Yes, Wikipedia is Dark Days, the casting #1 from May 2017. So that does nothing for me, but it looks like he is a character that goes back some ways. So it wasn't just like in this run. I think it went back a little further.
So I'm looking at that same Reddit thread that you found.
Enjoy.
And then so I think this validates or confirms Kenny's comment. The user says, I enjoyed his one-shot origin story.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So maybe there was a one-shot origin story that we just haven't read.
Huh.
So we'll have to figure out where that is.
So, okay, public in the Wikipedia under publication history, was first created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. In that Dark Days, the casting comic, the character is depicted as an alternate universe Batman who does not have a code against killing. Oh, Snyder's hope was that this character would be popular enough to get his own comic book series, but he wasn't, clearly. The fictional character biography says the Batman Who Laughs is an alternate universe variant of Batman from Earth 22 in the dark multiverse, which we know, who was transformed into a Joker-like form as part of the original Joker's dying scheme. He then takes over Earth, killing most of his allies and turning his son Damian Wayne into a mini Joker.
Oh.
Okay. All right. It says, after arriving on Prime Earth, the Batman Who Laughs attempts to destroy reality using the Anti-Monitor's brain, but is defeated and imprisoned in the Hall of Justice. It says in Dark Knight's Death Metal, which I believe is the one before this, the Batman who, or maybe it's this one, I don't know. The Batman Who Laughs becomes Perpetua's lieutenant, aided by an army of evil alternate Batman called the Dark Knights. So,
No.
I don't think that was in that. So I don't really know.
Well, we know more about him than we did coming into this, I think.
I do want to read one more part from the Wikipedia page, which is reception. It says the Batman Who Laughs has been commonly described as horrifying by website authors.
Oh no.
I just thought that was really great, and I wanted to include it in there.
Well, I think the Batman Who Laughs, he's got a cool look.
He does. He's very scary looking.
He's very scary looking. I just think that he unfortunately is in a terrible storyline.
It's not going great for him.
Maybe
he does look cool.
Maybe you could put him in another story where he could really thrive and be something. Yeah, but this is not that story. I don't.
There's just so much happening with this guy. And this story in particular, there's just like maybe too much happening.
I think I found his one shot, so I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna be like super knowledgeable about the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh my god. Apparently there's a collected edition from September 2019 called The Batman Who Laughs, which collects The Batman Who Laughs Volume 2. What do you mean Volume 2? 1 through 7. I'm having a nervous breakdown. 1 through 7, and then The Batman Who Laughs, The Grim Knight #1. What do you mean? I want to find out about The Batman Who Laughs, and I pick it up, and it's The Batman Who Laughs Volume 2. Like, this is
why are there 2 volumes?
Why is it always like this?
So the one I found, it has The Batman Who Laughs #1 through 7 and The Batman Who Laughs, The Grim Knight #1. I got it for free on Comixology Unlimited.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll take it for free.
Yes. Well, if you read that, you can bring your findings back to the class.
Yeah,
And
I'll see if
explain
I
to
can
me what's
dig anything
happening.
up. There's also some sort of, I don't know if this is the same thing, but there's the Batman Who Laughs with like the Joker on the cover. I wonder if that's a
Oh,
different thing. You can also read that for free. I'm just
how about that?
they really can't sell the Batman Who Laughs. They're just like,
Well,
we're giving it away for free.
to be fair, what was this? The Year of the Villains, Hell Arisen. Once again, $1.99. So
We are the only people reading this story.
it appears to me that we are the only people reading this story, and let's be honest, we are doing this pretty much against our will. So,
They have forced us to do this.
not super popular, but maybe if they had scaled back on the levels of multiverses and which ones were and weren't evil, and evil enough but evil in a different way, maybe it would have been more popular.
I am going to try to do all of my free reading on the Batman Who Laughs, and I'll try to report back next time.
Rachel says, shout out Comixology Unlimited.
They are really giving some things away for free, so that's exciting. I like a free comic, so I'm into it. Morgan, I did want to ask you about a character who pops up. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
kind of unrelated, but sort of related. But there's a character who pops up at the end of this issue,
An old friend.
with the Batman Who Laughs, who you know pretty well, but I don't know a ton about, because I may have watched, or I may have listened to a podcast but didn't watch the show, so I only have so much knowledge. But the character of Rip Hunter shows up randomly at the end of this issue. So
Rip!
what were your thoughts on that?
Welcome home, buddy. I was shocked to see Rip Hunter pop up in this. He's not like a character that pops up all that often in things that I read, but he was a big character in the early seasons of Legends of Tomorrow, before they were like, I think maybe we could move on from Rip Hunter. Show sort of graduated from his presence, but I was excited to see him. We at the Legendary Ladies podcast, but when we were the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, we had a little section called Rippin' on Rip, because a lot of times he would just do ridiculous things, and we were like, "That's not cool, Rip," and we would complain about him a lot. But I found myself like, it's kind of like reuniting with an old friend. I was like, Rip, how you doing, buddy? And turns out he's doing pretty bad.
Yeah, not doing great.
Not doing great. He's like, oh no, it's the end of time is now, and like, please help me. He's like, send me anywhere else. I was like, okay. I mean, not a very brave front you're putting up, Rip, but
Well, he is hanging
Classic
upside
Rip.
down. So-
Classic Rip. He didn't fix anything. He maybe made it worse.
So, this is also the problem that I have with this story, is that it seems like Lex Luthor knows the future. The
Yeah.
Batman Who Laughs knows the future. And it also
Everybody
seems like
seems to know the
Rip Hunter
future.
has been to the future.
That's sort of Rip Hunter's whole thing.
Yeah,
but
that's
you would,
it. Yeah.
you would imagine that for somebody who's been to the future, he would like be better at some of like the
Like
fixing
time
it,
traveling.
the
Yeah.
time traveling or anything. Kenny in the chat does point out that the Rip Hunter, the comic version, very different from the version that we saw on Legends of Tomorrow, the TV show. I believe that to be true, but since he's the only one I know and love, I'm putting all of my baggage onto the comic version.
So I guess my whole point is, I struggle with the idea that so many characters know the future.
It does seem anticlimactic, doesn't it?
And are they all seeing the same future? Do they all? Because it seems like Lex's version of the future is different from the Batman Who Laughs, and it's like there can't be. Can there be? Maybe with the multiverse, you can have different possible futures, I guess. But that is frustrating to me as a reader.
Yeah.
I don't like that. They should not
Yeah.
all know the future. It seems silly.
It seems a little strange to have everybody know the future. It seems like a little anticlimactic. It's like, what are the stakes if everybody kind of knows what they're working with? It's a little strange. Yeah, it's a little strange to have what seems like Lex knowing things, and then the Batman Who Laughs knowing things. Rip Hunter knows things, of course.
So do you think we're going to see Rip Hunter moving forward? Or is he just going to be hanging there for all the time?
My guess is he's hanging there for the rest of the time. I don't think we're seeing Rip again. I could be wrong, but I think that is where we'll leave Rip, and for the foreseeable future. And we just have to imagine that he cuts himself down.
What if he came back into play and he solved this whole thing? And like Rip Hunter is the hero of the story.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. I'd have to take back everything I've ever said about Rip Hunter. I had to be like, you go boy, you go Rip.
That is how I would write it. I would be like, Rip saved everyone.
Actually, it's Rip that saves the day.
He saved all the
How dare you doubt him?
Well, since we've talked about the story, is there anything that, before we move on to the art, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about regarding this issue in terms of the story?
Let's see. What else could I talk about on the story?
I think we covered maybe the. We didn't cover the fact that the crime syndicate version of the Flash like bit the dust. I guess that's kind of important.
Yeah. I did think that the crime syndicate version of the Flash was pretty funny. He seemed very nervous.
He was very nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not liking things. And it turns out he was right to be nervous.
Yeah, she
didn't go well for him.
Into dust. So did not go well for him. So we are down a crime syndicate Flash in this story. But I think that's kind of the highlights of the story. Are there any pages or panels in terms of the art that you thought were especially good?
I really liked the Rip Hunter sequence, especially when he's like, when the Batman Who Laughs is talking to Rip Hunter, who is upside down, everything's on fire behind him, and the thing that says the end of time is now. I thought that was very dramatic. I thought that was really a really fun panel. I like the panel when they're going to see Perpetua, and you see how large she is compared to all of the rest of them. I was like, oh yeah, no, she's big. She's a giant lady. I thought that was really fun, and that her like dress seems to be made out of the stars, which is very mysterious.
And the throne she's sitting on resembles those towers from Crisis. They'd have to build those towers.
It does.
That's kind of what that looks like to me. So I don't know if that's intentional, but that's the way I see it.
And let me see. I liked Supergirl's introduction, even though she had a lame name. Just this me, Kara. I thought that, but I like the way that she's sort of floating down towards Lex. She looks very menacing.
Yeah, I really like, you mentioned the Rip Hunter, the end of time is now panel. I especially like that if you go through the guided view and you go like panel by panel, that's a big reveal. It goes from the Batman Who Laughs into this big reveal of like a wide shot, almost as if you were cutting it in a film. So I really like the way, I like to use the guided view because it's easier to read on my phone. So it's fun to see when they intentionally do things for the guided view where they actually, a panel is like a reveal of something big. So I think that was probably the most visually interesting panel for me, but also it had a good effect in the execution of the digital version of the comic. Okay, well, I think that's maybe gonna wrap up I guess we could go to overall thoughts real quick, but I think it's mostly just like, what is happening? What's
this going on?
We just have a lot of questions, I think. So I guess that would be our overall thoughts.
Our overall thoughts are what's going on.
Maybe the next 3 issues will clarify things. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Before we wrap up this episode, though, we have some listener feedback that I thought you might be interested in, Morgan.
Oh.
Would you like to read our X post from Mark?
Sure. So Mark wrote us a post on X writing, hey, I don't know if you've seen this yet, and the last I knew, you all were way behind on the Harleyverse, but you should check out the new season of Harley Quinn, if only for Aisha Tyler's new role, Winky Face, and it seems that her role is Lena Luthor.
Have you been watching this?
So I think that the Harley Quinn season 5, so I caught up on season 4 because I was actually pretty behind, and I thought it was delightful, really fun. And so I haven't I think season 5 literally just came out, like, I want to say last week. So I haven't watched any of it, and I did not know that Lena was in it. And now I feel like I need to prioritize this higher on my list.
Well, don't we have oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? Dame oh, what is her name? She's on the Harley Quinn show. We wanted her on Supergirl.
Judith Light.
Judith Light. I knew it started with a J, and I could not. I was gonna.
Dame Judith Light. We damed her.
In my mind, I almost said Judi Dench, and I was like,
I was about to say Judi Dench. I was like, Judi Dench.
No. So Dame Judith Light is on the Harley Quinn animated series, and now we get Lena Luthor on the animated series. So I may have to start watching this, I guess.
It is really fun. It is a very fun show. It's definitely not an animated show for children. It's not a family-friendly show because it is very sort of inappropriate, but it is very funny, and I like the way that they approach the characters. The humor kind of comes from some place that like is already familiar with the DC characters and kind of playing off of them. And also Bane in Harley Quinn is one of my favorite animated characters. In the last season, he went on a journey to Italy to learn how to make pasta.
Oh, amazing. Good for him. Good for
beautiful.
Bane.
Very beautiful. So I'm excited to see what Bane gets up to in season 5 now that he's a master pasta maker.
Good for Bane. Good to hear. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I don't know. Is Lex Luthor like a big part of that show?
Lex he is kind of in the last season. He was because one of the characters joins like the Legion of Doom and becomes like a sort of like a CEO, like a CEO, like a CEO, girl bossing too close to the sun. So there's more Lex, but in the earlier seasons, Lex is honestly not in it that much. So yeah, I didn't expect to see Lena.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how Lena fits into it if there's not a lot of Lex Luthor.
Supergirl did. Kenny pointed out that Supergirl popped up in the season 4. She made a cameo wearing a doctor outfit. And Stanley says Supergirl is an eye doctor in it. Yeah, she played an eye doctor,
which makes no sense.
I guess because she could give you LASIK.
I guess
laser vision.
I guess. That's
sure. It's a little bit of a stretch.
It's a stretch, I feel like.
It's a stretch.
But yeah, so that could be interesting for Lena Luthor to show up. So I may give it a go just to see the Lena bits. I'd be curious how they portray her. Will she be a witch? Is she a witch?
Oh, I hope so. I don't want to spoil it for myself, but I'm excited to know that Lena shows up in this season. I really like the way that they like bring some of the villain, especially the villain characters. And Lena, as we know, is sometimes good, sometimes a little bit bad. So I can imagine her being a little bit bad in this version of the show.
She sometimes does put on her leather jacket and wants to go kill somebody.
Sometimes it's killing time. That leather jacket pops on. Sometimes she's gonna have to science murder a guy. You never know. She's a wild card.
Yeah. So okay, a good tip, Mark. We'll have to check out the Harley Quinn animated series to see what they do with Lena Luthor. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. If you want to contact us, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so give those a look-see. You can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please give us a subscribe. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of some new DC or DC TV or DC Comics related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since this issue involves Lex Luthor, we have some DC Lex-related designs in the DC TV podcast TeePublic store that we'd like to suggest.
And I do have them, but I need to scroll up. So we do have some LexCorp designs, and we also have some Doom things in there if you want to go check that out, since Doom was mentioned and Lex Luthor's affiliation with the Legion of Doom. So if you want to go check those out, we have sweatshirts for this time of the year where everything is everywhere it seems like is very cold right now. So if you need some sweatshirts, that's a good way to get some warm clothing. Well, if you would like to support us, you can go to our Supergirl Radio Patreon page at patreon.com/Supergirl Radio and become one of our Legion of Super sponsors and support the podcast. These people are Anne-Marie, Michael, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Majuba, Annie, Rachel, and Kit. And we appreciate everybody for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. If you would like to follow me, you can follow me on a couple of different places on the internet. You can find me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I also really like the social media platform Vero True Social. You can find me at Derby Kid over there. I share what I've been watching, what I've been listening to, and some of my pictures over there as well that I take. I also have a YouTube channel that you can find at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. If you would like to see me talk about some Supergirl news on the Film Junkies channel, you can find Dave over at the Film Junkie on YouTube and the most recent episode of the Vodka Stream, which he does on Friday nights, where we talk about the Supergirl news that we were going to get Kara's parents, Zor-El and Allura, in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. So a lot of fun hanging out with those guys. They seem to like it when I have a lot of opinions, which is nice because a lot of time people don't want to hear my opinions. So it's really fun to catch up with them and hear what they have to say about it too. So it's a really fun time. So if you ever get a chance, go subscribe to the Film Junkies channel and check out the vodka streams.
Nice. And you can find me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where you can find us on YouTube at the Legendary Ladies, and same on Instagram and on Twitter at Legends_pod. We'll be coming back from our break, I think, next week. And I'm not sure what we'll be talking about. So now is a great time to jump in and catch up on some of the episodes you missed, and also send us an email. Let us know what you want us to talk about now that we're in 2025.
Ooh, I feel like I should submit an idea. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I want to. Ooh, can I request the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
Oh, you can. I would be really into that. I don't know how Kat and Amy would feel about it. I feel like I could get Kat. Amy would be like, "What is this?" And I would be like, "Quality, Amy. It is quality."
It is a reality trash TV show, but I somehow got caught up in it. And I was like, I'm very invested. There's a season 2, I found out. So I need to watch. I'm behind. I haven't seen season 2. So
you got to catch up with the storylines.
I got to find out what's happening to Mom Talk.
Mom Talk might not survive this. I've seen that.
Why do I care now? Why do I care? I just should not be watching, but somehow I got sucked up into that show. So so that would be my suggestion. Just
I like it.
Some trashy reality TV. That's what I recommend.
I mean, there might be a new season of Love is Blind coming up in the next couple months. That feels like I always love a good season of Love is Blind. Poor Amy. Oh, Amy's like brain cells just start screaming and dying. Like she's like, no, please don't.
Why are they doing this? That's always the question that I'm asking on those shows. Well, that'll be fun. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you all talk about next. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio, and I forgot to change the tag out. Let's see.
Exciting.
Let's see.
I like that my brain just like completely shut down. I'm just watching you type. I'm not trying to add to the audio experience at all.
Well, we can edit this since I forgot that this was not something that I had changed.
Just
we can edit this for the audio.
Ooh, what will it say next?
What should we say? Just let's see.
That's
yeah, I think that'll do it.
Yeah, think that's great.
Okay, I think that's good. All right, let's try this again.
Sure.
That's gonna do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon, and we look forward to reading more Supergirl comics.
And I'm not ready for the outro. This is just, we have really just dropped the ball. Okay, all right. We're going to end this now, and I'm going to edit this for the audio listeners. So enjoy this live stream, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us in the chat, and we'll see you next time.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!